The National Transportation Safety Board said it will have a report out within 30 days on the cause of the air collision above Washington National Airport, the deadliest crash in the U.S. in decades. But early findings are already leaking out to the press. Multiple outlets reported that the staffing at the control tower at the airport was, quote, not normal, and that the air traffic controller in charge of communicating with helicopters was also forced to direct airplanes. That's a job for two people normally. But as the New York Times reported, quote, like most of the country's air traffic control facilities, the tower at Reagan Airport has been understaffed for years. The tower there was nearly a third below targeted staff levels, with 19 fully certified controllers as of September 2023. The shortage, caused by years of employee turnover and tight budgets, among other factors, has forced many controllers to work up to 6 days a week and 10 hours a day. Well, that does sound like a problem that is not solved by putting in place a hiring freeze and offering buyouts to all government workers, including flight controllers, encouraging them to quit. Both things that Trump did already. So instead, the president blamed DEI.
And I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so.
And yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed. And you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all.
That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
Not only did Trump blame DEI, but one by one, his lackeys did too. The vice president, the defense secretary, and the transportation secretary. He said on yesterday's show that Trump and his allies would at least wait until they knew the race and gender of the pilots before blaming DEI. I was wrong. They did it immediately. Never underestimate their depravity. After the comments, Trump convened a sham executive order signing in the Oval Office, again, purportedly to root out DEI that has made the U.S. aviation system unsafe.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA Administrator, in this case acting FAA Administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they are being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued by the Biden administration.
If anyone is keeping track, DEI is now to blame for historic wildfires in California and for an Army helicopter ramming into a passenger jet. While we're at it, what the fuck is the Army doing running nighttime training missions in the same airspace as one of the most complex and busy airports in the country? I don't care how long this has been going on and what protocols are in place to avoid accidents, because they obviously didn't work. And there's been warning signs, previous near collisions between passenger jets and military helicopters at the same airport over the last few years. If I was defense secretary and I was aware of these training flights and how often there have been close calls in the past, I would have put a stop to it in my first week on the job. Mr. President, the country is mourning and demands a sacrifice. You must fire Pete Hegseth. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new videos. Also, if you want to see Means Morning News in its complete form, not just the clips we post here, head on over to Means TV and get access to all our new episodes and our entire backlog, plus tons of other great movies and original TV shows.